السلام عليكم. كيف حالكم؟ بخير؟ اوكي. شباب بس حطوا لي البرزنتيشن. بنحاول نسوي اليوم conversation very friendly, very straightforward. It's a small team. فإذا عندكم أسئلة أو عندكم شيء that you're dying to say and share, please let us know. في تيم موجود مع الميكروفونز، وأنا بغير عربي إنجليزي، يعني بشوف كيف how it goes. طيب, so first of all, I wanted to thank Oman Arab Bank for inviting me today to do a full session on personal branding. And we will go into the details of personal branding. Why is it important? How important is it? And also, I will share some tips with you. And also, I was lucky enough to get a workbook on how you can develop your personal brand that you can actually utilize, because it's a very serious business now. But before I move forward, let me introduce you who I am. My name is Luma Saleh. That's me. I'm a third culture kid. What does that mean? For the majority of my entire childhood, I never lived in Oman. I'm Omani, my parents are Omani, but because of my father's job, we lived abroad my entire life. I came back in the 8th grade, and then I came back in 10th grade, and then I left again. So my entire life has been back and forth, but I came back to Oman because Oman is my country and I wanted to give back. I've been working for the last 25 years. I know I don't look it, but I have. Working in various sectors, both the government sector, private sector, but particularly my passion has driven me to work in PR and communications. I was running a PR and communications firm for about 15 years, moved from there and developed my own brand called Identity. And that was established just 2 years ago with my business partner. We focus on building brand equity for our clients. And honestly, Luma as a person loves animals. Let me introduce you. This is my cat, Bella. She's been with me for quite a while. She's quite cute, but also quite, she's quite high maintenance, if I could say. And this is an adopted dog that I found, that a friend of mine found on the street. He's a Wadi dog. His name is Milo. He no longer lives in Oman. He's actually been traveling to Saudi and now in Qatar with his owner. And that's me up there in Jabal Akhdar, trying to be adventurous and enjoying the sights. So this is me in a nutshell. Let's move on. So many of you might think or might ask, what's personal branding? And there's so many definitions out there. You know, you can ask ChatGPT, it'll give you a definition. You can ask your friends, they'll give you a definition. You ask your professors, your mentors, they'll all give you a definition. But what I was able to put together was your personal brand is the narrative, is the story that you want to tell people. What do you want to tell people about yourself? That's how it starts. But in time, it begins to be what? The story that people tell about you, amplified by your digital presence. And we'll go into a bit more detail, but that's the way this is the way I sort of explain it myself. Why is it so important that we have a digital brand? A personal brand. Why is it so vital in today's world? And in today's world, I remember myself, Lean, who's from Oman Arab Bank, sitting right in front of us. You know, we didn't have social media at the beginning. So our entire personal brand was built on our reputation amongst our family, our reputation amongst our community, our reputation at work. But today, it's a whole different ballgame for you. Today, it's not only about what you do, but it's also your skill sets, your talents, what your values are, what your identity is, what your career aspirations are, all become part of your personal brand. And if we're going to say, okay, Luma, fine, get what your personal brand means, but what makes you different, right? When you're going to put your personal brand together, you need to ask yourself a few questions, and we'll go through them in a little bit. But really, you need to think about, what is your value proposition? What are you proposing to your next employer? What are the skills? What are your talents? What can you be different? In today's world, there's so many of us. You need to be distinct. You need to have your own niche. And only then can you have those opportunities come by you. So why should we develop a personal brand? I gave you a hint already. It will differentiate you from your peers. It will showcase your abilities, your strengths, your uniqueness. It'll also give you an ability to network. Why did I just ask you when we were all waiting for everyone else to come in? I just asked you, sit next to someone you don't know and let them remember you by something you want them to remember you with. It's because this is networking. You're amongst a pool of networks. Today, you're lucky. You've been put in a situation where you don't know each other. And here you are. You can network with about 100 people who are with you right now. And of course, the most important part, I think, for you all, especially entering the job market or planning to pivot, is that it gives you career opportunities, right? And these career opportunities can later on jump to business opportunities. So with all that, remember I just said a few minutes ago, I said, okay, you understand the basics, you know why it's important, but really, how do I develop my personal brand? So I would kindly ask you to think about or reflect upon these questions. And if you want to take a picture, please, by all means, go ahead. But let's look at them a bit more closely. It says, what are your core values? What are your goals? And what is your long-term vision? What are your strengths and talent? What sets you apart? What do you want people to remember you? What is your story? And also, who is your audience? And what is your passion? And I think that's so important because I was working with a bunch of young women between the ages of 20 to 30 years old. And I asked them, what is your passion? And you know what? Nobody could answer that question. So really, you need to dig inside and really find out what is your passion, what is your value proposition, and really the most important is how do you want others to perceive you? Remember, with personal branding, it's your own narrative. You build your own story. It's your story, a story that you want others to remember you by. So now you've answered these questions. You already know all the, the beginning or the basics of a personal brand. How do you execute? And when we talk about how we execute, we're going to look at two sort of models. There's the traditional models that maybe myself and Lean had to do a lot more of. And then there's the digital end of it, which is your digital footprint is the most important, right? Let me pause here and ask you guys a question. How many of you have LinkedIn? Just put your hands up. Okay. And the people who didn't put your hands up, can you tell me why you think that, why you don't have a LinkedIn, if you don't mind? ما حد يبغى to answer? Okay. No one wants to answer. You want to answer? Why you don't have, you have a LinkedIn? No? Why don't you have a LinkedIn? عادي عربي إنجليزي ما مشكلة. Okay, I don't want to put pressure on people, but I'll give you an example. The same group of women that I was working with, actually there were women and young people generally between the ages of 20 and 30. And a lot of the people who said that they don't have a LinkedIn was because they felt that they were still too young for LinkedIn, or that they felt that they didn't achieve or accomplish enough to be on LinkedIn, right? That's how we all feel, right? You'll think twice, oh, why should I open a LinkedIn account if I haven't accomplished much? But really, that should not stop you ever, because your digital footprint, your entry to your career is LinkedIn today. If you've just graduated and you feel, what's the point of me putting myself out there on LinkedIn? Then you'd be wondering, but how will recruiters find you? If you ask recruiters today, the first point of entry is LinkedIn. So even if you've just graduated, even if you're currently working, or you're still in college, or you're a job seeker, get on LinkedIn. Another fear is that people don't want to put their pictures. Don't put a picture if you don't want. You don't need, it's preferable that you do, but if you don't want to put one, don't put one, but be present. Now, let me go back to this. How do we execute? I think this is so important. How many of you here are working? One. Okay. So what's your name? Hajar. Hajar. Let me know if you agree with the statement or not, okay? For you to start building a personal brand, you need to do your job well. Not only well, but very well, okay? You might have the expertise or the knowledge in your professional acumen, meaning that you can do your job, but your job doesn't stop there. Your job continues. It's also about how do you become a business person? How do you deal with conflict at work? Where is your emotional intelligence? Are you a problem solver or not? This is how you actually build your personal brand. Because what will happen is they'll be like, Hajar is amazing at work. If you have anything, you go to Hajar. Hajar will solve it for you. If there's a conflict, go to Hajar. What does she become? She becomes a personal brand within the organization. صح ولا لا? And that's how you start. And this is one of the more traditional ways of doing it, but it's an important way and it's a perfect entry when you start working. The second thing is find your focus. And when you find your focus, fine-tune it. What do I mean? So you have now found your focus, your passion. You know what you want. You know what your personal brand wants. But then what do? You fine-tune. You can't be stuck. So you find a niche with the ability to shift right or left, because we live in a very agile and flexible world where we need to be able to do that. Another thing is network. So I gave you the example of all of you here today. This is the perfect opportunity to network. You're all going to know each other. You're going to get to know each other. You might start following each other on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on any of your other platforms. That's your networking, right? But also be a super connector, meaning if Hajar and Mohammed and Musa are all photographers and Hajar knows both Musa and Mohammed, then she'll connect you all together. What happens? You become a network. You don't have to have a network of thousands and thousands, especially when you start. You're going to grow your network. But by growing your network, you're also going to be a super connector as well. This one always, whenever I present this slide, a lot of young people tell me, but we're too young to be thought leaders, right? They're like, we're not a thought leader yet. Believe me, the opportunities are there. You don't have to be a thought leader in something you don't know. But if you know something really well, you can speak about it. And with today's tools, you don't need a blog to put your thought. If you have your blog, great. If you have your own website, greater. But if you don't have it, today's capabilities and tools give you so many mediums to utilize. You know, we talked about LinkedIn. You have Threads. You have X, which is formerly known as Twitter. These are all platforms for you to actually give your opinion and your thoughts. And then the next one is speak up. Whenever you get an opportunity to have a speaking engagement, take it up. You don't have to wait. The person who approached you to be a speaker knows that you have the skill sets. Lean asked me this last week, she's like, Luma, look, we have a personal branding workshop. Can you speak? I said, yes, absolutely. I seized the opportunity, right? And you might tell me, but we're not there yet. It's okay, even if you're not there yet. What will I ask you to do? My ask here is go to events, industry events, activities, whatever you like. It doesn't have to be always a professional setting or attending, you know, a green summit conference. But say, for example, you're really artsy. You like photography, you like videography, and there's an art show. Go to it. And you might go with a lot of hesitation and you're a bit, you know, shy and you're a bit held back, but you taking the first step is also you taking the first step in building your personal brand. Master social media. And if you realize here, I didn't say social media master. I reversed the words because mastering social media is so important today. And maybe nobody knows it better than you. You're the tech savvy generation, you know, you're the generation who woke up with computers and websites and internet being online. Definitely not my generation. My generation, I still remember I was on this black screen and having to put in commands to actually do a basic, ask for a basic thing. But today you guys are master the tools that are out there. And the reason why I'm saying is that you see it across. You know, people, look, if it's your personal page and it's not open, do whatever you want. But if it's an open page, which is a public page, be purposeful and share helpful information. Nobody really wants to know what you did on the weekend, right? But people will want to know, okay, what does Muhammad like? What are his passions? And the first step that an employer does is what? Check social media accounts. Personally, when I hire, even before, as soon as I like the CV, even before I complete the CV, I'm going to check the name and I'm going to look you up on social media. I'm going to see who's this person I'm hiring, right? Will they add value to me as an organization or not? How are they positioning themselves? What are their passions? What do they like? What don't they like? So really meaningfully use those platforms to your own benefit. Remember, this is your story. It's nobody else's. Curate a story that you want people to remember you with. And then I know this slide is quite heavy, but I know this deck is going to be shared with you guys. So I'm going to leave it to your own, so you can read it at your own discretion. But I've listed the different platforms that are out there and really the purpose of each platform. And you see it. Sometimes you see personalities that use the same content and put it across all platforms. Is it really the right thing to do? Not really. Should I utilize these platforms depending on what I feel is best for me and the content? Absolutely. So do be purposeful, utilize the platforms in the right way. And then, does anyone know what humble bragging means? Does anyone know what it means to brag? No? Please tell us. Give us your name and tell us what it means to brag. بالضبط. خذيت الكلمات من فمي. Exactly. You know, it's so easy for us to go on these platforms and just brag. But what I'm trying to tell you is you can brag, but humble brag. You know, if you brag too much, how many times do you follow people on social media like, oh, مرة ثانية لوعونا نفس الأشكال نفس المحتوى كله, it's all about them. صح ولا لا? And then you unfollow. You don't want to be that kind of brand, right? So when you brag, do it مع تواضع, right? You know, when we were kids in school, they used to always tell us, at least in kindergarten, they used to tell us something called show and tell, where you're supposed to bring a toy to talk about it. But really, you never talked about the toy. You showed the toy because you let other people speak about it. So show your audience, show the people who you're trying to attract what you do and let them talk about you. And then this is, I think, this is probably one of my favorite slides. And I think we forget about this a lot here is, you know, personal branding might be 50% about you, but the other 50% is not about you. So I always tell people, you know what, if you're going to post about what you do, for every 3 posts, you post about yourself or about something you did or something you were involved in, allocate 2 posts about somebody else. Because promoting your personal brand also means promoting others. And this could be anyone. It could be, for example, you might want to promote your father, or you want to talk about how your father or your mother or your siblings, it could be a professor, it could be an industry leader, it could be an influencer, it could be someone who you really helped you today and you were like so grateful. Allocate the time to also recognize them, because that also fits into your personal brand. And then we talked about LinkedIn, right? It's so important to be on LinkedIn today, because your bio and your LinkedIn is the first entry for a lot of HR professionals, a lot of recruiters go on LinkedIn to find you. So make sure you have that solid, tied in. Unfortunately, I'm not doing a LinkedIn session for you today on how to do that, but there's so much material online where you can find how you can actually perfect that. Also, you have ChatGPT, utilize it in a very purposeful way to build your LinkedIn profile if you don't have one, or even if you want to review it. But also be humble about it. Remember about humble bragging? You know, what are you, but maybe I think you're between the ages of 20 and maybe 25, صح? Will anyone older than 25 in this room? Yes? Okay. So let's say between 20 and 30. Don't come and say you're a visionary leader, because you're not, right? Be humble, reword it. I understand what you're trying to say, but when you utilize LinkedIn, show who you are, show your skill sets, show your strength, because that's the only way where recruiters can find you. And then my next slide is about learning from others. It's so important that you learn from others. So for example, if you have a few people who have an amazing digital footprint and have a great personal branding, follow them, learn from them, see what you like about them. It's okay, you can be inspired by them, adapt the content. They're leaders themselves, right? They're there to inspire others. No one does things out of thin air. Everybody's inspired by somebody else. So look at this very carefully. And I think the next one is really important in building your brand, is to give back to community, right? So if you have opportunities where you can volunteer or be part of your community, do that, because that also fits into your personal brand. I know there's a lot of things, but if you take away at least 5 things from the tips I'm giving you today, at least you'll be in the right way, or at least in the right direction of building your personal brand. And then here, focus on quality rather than quantity. And really, this is mostly on the digital platforms. You know, I said use social media purposefully, posts regularly, be relevant, talk about what's happening today, talk about what your generation needs, but also focus on the quality of the content. There's no point of you to post 20 posts and there's no quality checks. Double check, review it, let your peers review it. And this one is seize the day. And you know, opportunities don't come to you. A few might. You might be lucky that they might come to you. But most times, you seek the opportunities, right? So for example, even you being here, today's the first session of Launchpad. Did this opportunity come to you, or did you find it? It could be small things like this. So seize the opportunities that come to you, look for them, identify them. I know it's always so difficult here, لأنه there isn't like a page that promotes everything and that you can just go to one place and it'll showcase everything that's happening. So it takes a bit more effort from our side to do it, but do it because that's how you will build your personal brand as well. And then my next thing is create and learn your elevator pitch. Do people know what elevator pitch means? Yes? Okay. شباب كثير هادين. You guys know what elevator pitch is? Yeah? Okay. So تذكروا في المدرسة كيف كانوا يحفظونا؟ كان حفظ. احفظوا your elevator pitch. Because that is the perfect opportunity for you to show who you are in 30 to 60 seconds. Learn it by heart. For people who don't know what an elevator pitch is, it's a story about yourself said in 30 to 60 seconds. And the reason why it's called an elevator pitch is because if you are riding with someone from the top floor to the bottom floor, they should have already remembered who you are, what you do, and what they can help you in. So keep that in mind, those 3 points. And this one is to be real, be authentic, be who you are with your personal branding. Don't pretend someone that you're not be, because you can pretend for so much, and then later on, that will all disappear. Be who you are. Be in an environment where you can express the real you. Be authentic. Be as authentic and real as you can be. And then so those are my tips for you. I'm happy to discuss them in a bit more detail. But what I thought is, I actually found this slide. It's not mine. I've already sourced it at the bottom. But those are kind of tools that you can utilize. And we've discussed them. We've discussed the more traditional ways, which are, offline networking, social objects. We didn't discuss social objects, but we can take a minute to discuss that. Plus the digital aspect. And if you can combine or have a combination of the two, you will be able to build your personal brand. So if I can summarize really what your personal brand is, it's really these 6 items. It's your professional identity, it's your online, offline identity, what your goals and values are, the qualities that set you apart, values you bring to others, and finally, your brand statement or / your elevator pitch. And, I'm a big fan of Tom Peters. Tom Peters is a writer, and he's been talking about personal branding for a very, very long time. And I felt like I needed to end this with you today because it says today, once you walk out of this auditorium, you're not a job title. You're not a job description. You don't belong to an organization. You belong to yourself. So you are a brand in yourself. So take this opportunity to actually start building your own brand, because that's definitely in the right direction. You're moving in the right direction. And finally, what I wanted to do is PwC is a global consulting firm. There's a lot of material out there, but what they did is they took this personal branding and they created it into a workbook. Look, personal branding is not easy. It's actually hard work. And I really like the workbook because it slowly breaks up all the points I discussed with you earlier and basically breaks it up into tidbits, size-based information that you can actually build on. So it's there. I've already put it on a Google Drive for your access. Please go ahead, download it. It's available online as well. I just found it very, very useful. And I honestly wish I had it in my hands many, many years ago, rather than I just found it a few days ago. And that's pretty much it. So we'll open up for question and answers. And thank you for your attention. I appreciate it. So let me know how I can answer you.
Well, to get ahead of uh, like people from your own line of graduates, you have to kind of implement new tools, new strategies to get ahead in what you want in life. You know, to reach somewhere that will set you up uh, in a way that you want. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. So yeah, no worries. Oh, GBT. No, no questions asked. GBT has done wonders in terms of LinkedIn and like everything, from building CV to posting LinkedIn articles.
بليز عرفوا على نفسكم قبل ما تسألوا السؤال عشان أنا بعد أتذكركم.
أول شيء شكرا واجد. الورشة كانت مفيدة واستفدت بصراحة من كل نقطة، وبس بغيت أشارككم تجربتي. أنا سارة بنت حنيف البلوشي، متخرجة as a chemical engineering. بس من خلال الفعاليات اللي كانت تقدمها الكلية كنت أحس إن شخصيتي مايلة أكثر شيء للماركتينج، فكنت كل ورشة أي شيء عن ماركتينج كنت أدخل. فبالصدفة كان دوت نيكست، هو اسم فعالية دوت نيكست من قبل شركة أوكسي. فحبيت إني يعني أنضم لهالفعالية، بس أنا أي فعالية وكذا وأنا فاضية بس إنه أقدم فيها، وسبحان الله انقبلت في هالفعالية. وأول ما عرضوا البرنامج كان عبارة عن كل حد يسوي مشروع، ويعني كأنه شركة صغيرة في قسم ماركتينج اتش ار وكذا. فأنا كنت من أول كنت حابة إني أكون في قسم الماركتينج. فالحمد لله يوم يعني كونا شركة صغيرة وكذا، كنت في قسم الماركتينج والحمد لله فزنا بالمركز الأول و5000. و فكل ما وظيفة أي وظيفة تنزل للماركتينج كنت أقدم لها، وأحس إنه كانوا يقدموني على واجدين لأن عندي كأنه خلفية. فأي فعالية أي شيء تشوفوا مفيد حالكم أو إنه يبني يعني قدراتكم وكذا شاركوا فيه، يعني كنصيحة يعني. بس شكرا.
شكرا سارة. سؤال: كيف برزتي يعني كيف أبرزتي نفسك على السوشيال ميديا من خلال هذه الفعاليات؟ هل حطيتي مثلا على اللينكد إن وين يعني، ولا ما سويتي؟ You
لا.
just use the traditional means.
No. I use already Instagram. وأنا كنت أقدم البرزنتيشن مال البرنامج بالضبط. تقريبا كان 5 دقائق، وكان في لجنة وكان في أسئلة وكذا، والحمد لله انعرضت حتى يعني صور الجروب كامل في الجريدة، في لينكدين، في الانستغرام، في أكثر من مكان الحمد لله. فحسيت إنها كانت إضافة حلوة وبصمة حلوة حالي، يعني كل حد حتى ليه الحين إذا أروح هناك يتذكرون أوه هذه سارة هذه سارة، فكذا فكان يعني شيء حلو، إضافة حلوة. عفوا.
هون ولا كيف؟ عادي سأله، حتى سؤال يمكن ما له دخل في البيرسونال براندنج، عادي.
اسمي شهلة، بس عندي سؤال. أنت ذكرتي الشات جي بي تي، إيش يدخل في موضوع اليوم؟
الشات جي بي تي is an amazing tool for you to actually implement some of the things that I put out there. So for example, you might not feel very confident in your writing skills مثلا، فأنت ممكن تكتبي شيء وتطلبي من ChatGPT to rewrite it in a way where it's grammatically correct، ما في spelling mistakes وما شابه ذلك. هذا one way of doing it. The other way of using ChatGPT مثلا for your LinkedIn profile. مثل ما أتوقع أنور شاركنا مع تجربته، هو كان يستخدم الشات جي بي تي to build his LinkedIn profile. if you use the commands and the right commands ممكن يساعدك كيف you can actually build a very concise straightforward profile، إن أول ما حد يطالع على البروفايل they'll know okay Shahla knows exactly this is what Shahla does, these are her strengths and these are her skill sets. فتعرفي it's a tool to support all the kind of activities I mentioned up above. I hope I answered your question.
اسمي أسماء البلوشي. من رأيي أحس واحدة من أهم الأشياء to brand yourself إنه يكون عندك ثقة أو confidence. بس إذا أنا ما عندي ثقة الكافية، لأني دائما أحس نفسي إنه أنا I didn't achieve or accomplished enough، كيف أقدر أو brand myself إذا أنا ما عندي الثقة الكافية، خصوصا إذا كنت أنا بعدي ما تخرجت وأحس إن أنا ما حققت شيء، فكيف أقدر أسوي هالشيء؟
Sorry, Asma, صح؟ أيوة. Asma, thank you for the question. I think this is a question that a lot of people are thinking about but are not expressive. Shuvi, there are two ways of looking at it. Do you think in people like Oprah Winfrey, أنا بتكلم on the big personal brands, were confident لما بدأوا? Not at all. صح؟ Or حتى if we look at someone like Lewis Hamilton, or even Ronaldo, or حتى any of the soccer players or the football players, the confidence comes with time. We're usually brought up that we're very shy. Our culture is a very shy culture. This is who we are. We can't change that. But what you can do is, you already know you're shy, is start building your digital footprint in the beginning. So you are sitting behind a screen, people don't know you. So you're building a digital footprint at the beginning, and then you can go through the traditional means. But if you still feel you still need that confidence, I think you need to identify as well, what is it that's holding you back? So is it that I'm shy to speak to people? Or is it when I enter a room, I don't know what to ask? Or is it I'm a kind of person who I'm an introvert? So I think these are questions you need to ask yourself. But in terms of building a brand, I would recommend that you start with your digital footprint first, because your digital footprint is a pathway. It's one door out of many. Build that first, and then you can take the second step, which is the more traditional way, which is, the more offline networking, which is attending events and so forth.
شكرا. عندي سؤال ثاني لو سمحتي.
تفضلي.
قلتي إنش لما حد يقدم على وظيفة تسألي عنه في social media account. So you do interviews, hiring interviews, صح؟
Yes, absolutely.
إذا كان عندك مقابلة حق توظيف شخص، ويش خلينا نقول the main points اللي تدوري عليها أو you search في الشخص هذاك عشان توظفيه؟ يعني ويش كذا النقاط اللي شفتيها في الشخص بتقولي خلاص بوظفه. He's the right person.
This is a very hard question, but I'm going to answer it from my perspective, okay? Different recruiters do different things. So at Identity, and even in my previous agency, the way I used to do all the recruiting. So what I do is my first step would be I'd scan the CV. If I really like the CV, my next step would be I would look you up. I would look you up on your LinkedIn. I would look you up on Instagram. I'm going to look you up on Twitter. And I don't know if anyone uses Facebook in this room, but maybe not. Maybe you're too old for Facebook, too young for Facebook. But I will look you up on these 3 platforms. Honestly, as a recruiter, I don't really care what you do on your Instagram accounts. I'll be very honest with you. This is me. I care about your LinkedIn, and I also care about your Twitter accounts. If you are a person who is constantly posting things about religion or politics وأحس يعني تتحركشي مع الناس كثير, I will step back, because that for me is a red flag saying this person could be problematic in my organization. So these are my red flags. But after I do the scan, I will invite, and if you pass those scans, and on my LinkedIn, on your LinkedIn, I will always look for recommendations. So, at the bottom of LinkedIn, there are recommendations. Have recommendations there. I will see who recommended you. Because if I see people talking positive things about you and who've worked with you, or maybe not even worked, maybe a professor put in a really nice comment that you did a really great class project for them, or that you were participating in an activity in the university and there's a recommendation, that's going to attract me to you. So after I do that, only if you pass those first 2 steps, I'm going to invite you for an interview. And during the interview, for me, the most important part is, do you fit into my work culture or not? Right? Sometimes we don't have the skill sets. Sarah, you're the chemical engineer. And what did you end up doing? Marketing, because that was your passion. So maybe I have someone like Sarah who comes in for an interview, and I find her that, you know what, she might not have the full experience of marketing because her degree is chemical engineering, but she's passionate, she loves the subject area, and she's willing to learn. These are the 3 things I look for. But I know there are other sessions on recruitment that the bank is going to do, so they'll be the better person. But I'm giving you from my own personal experience. Shukran. Afwan. Please.
Sharing your thoughts on them. Sharing your thoughts on marketing trends or research. You're actually doing a lot of research and you're interested in learning. That tells me a lot about who you are as a person. You're open to learning. You're open to looking up things online. You understand the industry, etc. It's also attitudes. A lot of times you find people on LinkedIn find it as a venting platform. They post a lot of negative comments or negative thoughts. That tells a lot about a person's attitude. So you always need to be very balanced in your thought process on LinkedIn. Always show that you're looking at the latest trends and latest updates in your field of business or field of interest, but also at the same time maintain a very balanced attitude so that your recruiters understand who you are as a person. And it goes back to personal brand.
And I think part of, and I know this is not a LinkedIn session, but someone actually gave me this tip a few weeks ago. So it's just very recent. They said, look at LinkedIn. You know how they tell you eat your fruits and vegetables, eat 5 fruits and vegetables a day? So they said, for every day, like 3 posts and comments on 2 posts. Okay? On a daily basis. I know it's a lot. Believe me, I can't do it. I guess it's too much. At some point, I'm like, I'm done. Khalas, I don't want to do it. But I try to do it at least 3 times a week. And if a recruiter sees, because a recruiter can see what you liked, right? And they can also see what you posted or what you commented on. So use that. 3 likes and 2 comments. It doesn't have to be full-blown posts because I know it takes time. But at least 2 comments, or at least even if you're going to repost, don't repost or khalas. Repost and add a comment to the repost.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah Blushi. I was just having a question similar to my colleague, but it's about CV. In general, when organizations announce for a job, what they focus more on the CVs, which part, rather than the certificate or etc. But the other parts, what they do they focus more on it?
I will focus on your skills. What skills do you have? So I won't look at your education, because for me, we all pretty much have a balanced education, right? And education, you might have been a great student in school, but you're really not great at work, and vice versa. And actually, my sister was one of them, to be honest. My sister didn't do very well in school. She wasn't made for books, but she does fantastically well at in her job. So if I looked at her CV, I wouldn't hire her if I looked at her education. So for me, I would look at your skill sets. But to be honest, for me, a CV is just a scan. I don't utilize it as a basis. But if I like your skill sets and be like, okay, this works, I'll call you in after I do your social media check. I don't know, Lean, do you have anything else that you look for?
Flexible. You'd be surprised by the amount of time, for example, I would typically to someone that's not willing to spend the hours working on the project. My family that I'm just to this and that's it. So that kind of attitude is what will eventually lead to a great opportunity for me. You always have to be open to learning. There are also other candidates who are so confident because they have the skill sets, but the confidence comes across as I'm not willing to learn. You know, so you have to always understand and be humble enough about your skill sets and experience. I do have skill sets. I'm very experienced. I'm very proud of them. I'm always open to learning as well. There's always more to learn, and that's very important for me.
I think this ability to learn, or being flexible enough to learn. I mean, Lean just reminded me, once I was interviewing a young woman who has fantastic work skills. But you know what she told me? She said, 9 to 5 is a job not for me. I work in PR and communication. We work around the clock, to be honest. Not every day, but most days. That's the industry. So as soon as she said that to me, I said, you know, she might have fantastic skills, but I can't hire her. She's showing zero flexibility. You know, that's one. I think the second point as well is the ability to learn, or being open to learn, is really important. Even if your employer doesn't ask you, you need to continuously upgrade and upskill yourself. Today, I'll give you an example. How many of you use Canva? Okay, so most of this room uses Canva, right? Did we ever imagine that anyone with basic skill sets can use Canva? كلنا كنا Adobe, InDesign. You know, people were making millions just doing these workshops. But today, the basic skill sets you can do on Canva. So did it stop at Canva? No. Look at AI. Look at all these video production things that you can edit a video on your phone right now in 2 seconds, right? Are these skill sets that an employer might ask you? Maybe not. But are these skill sets important for you today? Absolutely. You have to be versatile in your skill sets. Don't limit yourself. So even if your employer doesn't ask you, be open to learn. And you know, especially with COVID, a lot of universities, and until today, offered all these free classes, right? So you have, whether it's from Harvard University or Yale, all the big names, they still have these free classes out there. They're at your hands. You don't have to be there. You can have that learning. Utilize it.
السلام عليكم، اسمي فرح السليمي.
بس بغيت أخبرك يعني أقول تجربتي في هذا. أنا يعني قبل 4 سنوات فتحت أول بزنس حالي، هو أن أرسم حل شركات مثلا عندهم مناسبة، أرسم لهم as a stickers they can stick it in the، يعني مثلا أنت عندك مناسبة birthday they can take a photos and send me their photos and stick it on.
Is it stop here? Your name again?
فرح.
Farah, what's your Instagram account? So everybody here today knows.
But wait, I will continue because I stopped.
Okay.
After I stopped before 3 years.
There is an online audience watching this as well. So you can get business from all of us today.
Okay, I stopped before 3 years. After
Tell us your story.
Yeah, after 3 years, I start another one. I want to try something يعني شيء يعبر عني، فمن كذا كنت أجرب أكثر من شيء، يعني يمكن 4-5 مرات أنا أغير وجهتي. فبدأت في الرسم، غيرت، رحت في التصوير، فبدأت أصور أطفال، بعدين شوية أعمار شوية كبار. اشتريت كاميرا وسويت لي small studio. After that 1 week ago I stopped and I start another business selling some cats and bats things. So now I started. So I don't know where I can start and continue, because I continue 1 year, 2 years. After that, I feel boring. I feel I want to change to another things. So I change it again. So I don't know, like this, I now start to have events, a lot of events, to learn more about how can I continue and يعني أثبت في شيء واحد، ما أجلس أغير من نفسي يعني every 1 year, every 2 years.
شوفي فرح, from my point of view, أنت ما جالسة تغيري. Remember that slide? It says focus and fine tune.
Yes.
You focus on a niche and you're fine tuning it. You're finding your right steps. So that's the way I see it. And I think once you fine tune exactly what you're looking for, you will continue in that path.
Okay.
That's the way I see it. I could be wrong, but please, you are a room full of 100 people. If you have any advice for Farah, please share it with her. What's your new account? You stopped it, صح?
No, it's now
it's ongoing.
Working.
What's the account?
Name Farah Saud. You will
Farah,
find it.
okay.
In Arabic, you will find it.
Okay. Yes. So maybe all of us now, we have a contact who's Farah. If we need anything, she can support us. We know she has skill sets of photography and she can draw. So if there's a business that actually wants her or a personal, you can still do it. صح ولا لا?
Yes.
Because you have that skill set.
Even my cousin, she work here. She عقد كلمة قالت إنه every time you start a business, I just want to give you a power. يعني كل ما أفتح business هي تدعمني يعني مثلا تشتري أو تسوي يعني تشارك يعني معاي. ف يعني حسيت إنه شيء حلو إنه أحصل دعم، بس نفس الوقت إنه أحس إنه أنا حزينة إني ما قاسة أكمل هذا، يعني ما قاسة أعطيهم الشيء اللي ممكن يدعموني فيه دائما.
أعتقد I'm not the expert here for this particularly, but let's talk. I can definitely connect you to someone that can support you in your business ideas وكذا. Okay.
أول شيء اسمي شذى الحبسي. سؤالي حال سارة كيميكال انجينير صح؟ أول شيء ببدأ قصتي إنه أول شيء أنا من عائلة رياضية بحتة. عائلتي قررت إنها تفتح أكاديمية، فكانت الأكاديمية أو هذه الشركة شركة صغيرة يعني عائلية. إنه يشوفوا أول شيء جمعونا إحنا، يعني هم عمومتي وأبوي وعمومتي جمعونا أول شيء على أساس إنه يشوفوا أفكارنا إحنا كشباب يعني في العائلة. نفس سارة اشتغلت في البداية as a marketing في الأكاديمية هذه. إذا بتسألوا عن اسم الأكاديمية، اسم الأكاديمية أكاديمية الحبس، إذا حد يعرفها. اشتغلت as a marketing في البداية، بعد ما تطورت شوي الأكاديمية وعرفوا إيش صاروا يجيبوا يعني ناس مختصين من برا. بس أسأل سارة، إذا رجع فيش الزمن يعني، أو ما رجع فيش الزمن، لو جاتش فرصة إنك تشتغلي في كيميكال انجينير، بتشتغلي فيه ولا لا؟ لأن هي جاتها فرصة. لأني نفس يعني لما هي يعني قالت ستوري مالها، نفس الفكرة جات في بالي. حبيت الماركتينج. أنا كوانتيتي سيرفي انجينير، فحبيت الماركتينج. والحين جالسة أفكر، الحين لو جاتني فرصة، هي جاتها الفرصة أنها تشتغل از ماركتينج، بس أنا للحين ما حالفني الحظ وما اشتغلت. فجالسة أفكر لو جاتني الفرصة إني أنا أشتغل ماركتينج، وجاتني في نفس الوقت إن كوانتيتي سيرفي انجينير، وش بختار؟ أنا حابة الماركتينج يعني تخصص الرئيسي هو كوانتيتي سيرفي. اوكي، شكرا. اوكي، بعد عندي سؤال ثاني. هل تحسوا يعني للكل هذا السؤال، هل تحسوا الايفنت مانجمنت والماركتينج في تشابه في شيء يسميه في بيئة العمل او العمل نفسه؟ هل تحسوا ان الايفنت لما تروح تسوي ايفنت مانجمنت انه كأنه ماركتينج حال الشيء اللي انت جالسة تعملي فيه؟ شكرا سارة.
على سؤالك شذا، شوفي، الماركتينج، الديجيتال، الايفنت مانجمنت، كلهم ينبعوا من مكان واحد، ينبع من communication. فاعتبري ان الكوميونيكيشن هو the head، ومنه ينبع التخصصات هذه. فكلهم راح يكون في intersections but they also have their own standing. بس كلهم ينبعوا يعني whether it's digital marketing, PR, event management, advertising, whatever it is، كله تحت مظلة communications.
أنا هبة. عندي إيمان شخصي أو فكرة أتمنى ما تأخذوها بطريقة سلبية، بس أحس فكرة الشغف أو الباشن أحسها overrated، لأنه شعور لحظي، وما في شخص يحس بالشغف والباشن وإني أحب هذا الشيء طول أيام الأسبوع وطول الوقت. فأنا I don't think إن الموضوع على الباشن، بس it's about finding the right system that fits you and works for you. And that's يعني the whole idea.
I think you're open to interpretations, right? But they always say, do what you love. Do I love what I do every day? No. صح ولا لا? Lean, do you love what you do every day? No. And we've been in the industry for quite a while. By the way, Lean and I know each other from school, huh? That's why. So the world is small. You see what networks get you? And so we don't have to love or be passionate about what we do every day, because you're not. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days. There are going to be days where you're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to give up. But there is a thin sliver inside of you that if you have love for that, you will continue to pursue it. So I agree with you. It's not everything, but that sliver is there, and that's what pushes you, at least from my perspective. You're most welcome, but thank you for sharing your perspective. I think it depends, because I think a lot of young people also have different perspectives today that we're happy to hear. Pleasure. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.